Inland Sports.
And now join us here on the Inland Sports Show. He is the skipper for the Beaumont High School baseball team, Travis Tomsen. And Coach, welcome to the show. You're making your maiden voyage on the Inland Sports Show. I really appreciate you jumping on here. As we're going through league play right now, Coach, in the CBL, I know it was a tough one at the County Clash against Rev, but you got a pretty good team. What do you like about this Beaumont baseball team this season?
I mean, from what I saw when I first came in mid-August to where we're at now is just how much they've grown as a team together. Like their camaraderie with each other. I mean, Beaumont's a small town and everybody knows each other, but it's still like that aspect of them, like just being all for each other and being a team is what I absolutely love. They know how to have fun, but they also know how to bear down, get serious when it's time to get serious. And I absolutely love that about my guys.
Now, Coach, if I have my information correct, you were the head coach out at Indio, correct?
I'm the pitching coach.
The pitching coach. Okay. Is this your first head coaching gig?
At the high school level, yes. I coached a travel ball team that I was technically the head coach of. But as far as like the high school level and above, this is my first head coaching job.
So at what point in your baseball career did you think, you know what? One day I'd love to be a high school coach, a head coach, and lead my own program. Was that always something in the back of your mind that you wanted to do someday? Or I don't know, maybe it just kind of fell in your lap. I think you were also an athletic director at Entrepreneur, I think, in San Bernardino and Highland too. So, how did you get to this point?
So for me, I mean, the idea of coaching didn't really come to me until after I was done playing. I was like every other kid. I was going to chase that dream as long as I could. Played my 4 years of college ball, got my chance in independent ball, hoping I can get somebody to notice me. And when I got told by multiple scouts, you're just too short for my position, I realized, my dream of being a big leaguer was just not going to be there. So I was able to step away from the game before it kicked me out. So I have zero resentment for the game. I still love the game. As much as I am a competitor and I love to compete, and my guys will tell you that I will hop in on some drills and compete with them because I still can. While I still can, I will always. I don't know. Right when I was done playing, I just kind of sat back and I bounced from random job to random job. I sold shoes. I was a knife salesman. I worked at Sports Authority for a little bit. Just random odd jobs. I worked for a telecoms company. I worked at a casino. And it was actually the 2015 season when I was still working on my degree at Vanguard. Our former assistant coach had passed away. So I reached out to the head coach and said, hey, if you need help, running practices and stuff, I'm your guy. And he offered me a paid gig, paid assistant coach, and got to be a part of that team, which we went to the NAIA World Series for the first time in 30 years with that team. And I absolutely just fell in love with coaching. And so I reached out to all my former coaches. I was like, what's the steps to get to where you guys are? And they all said, if you really want to get the most out of it and survive as a high school coach, you're going to need to start teaching. So I started teaching. I got my teaching credential from CBU and was coaching here and there. After Vanguard, I coached at my alma mater, King High School in Riverside, for a year. I was the pitching coach for the varsity staff there. And they made after that year, they made a coaching change. And so I was gone with the head coach and sat out a year and ended up at Poly High School, a rival of ours. And it burned a little putting the orange and green on, but I ended up falling in love with that place. I had great support. We had great admin. And then, life happened. I got married, moved into a house in Beaumont. My wife's a teacher here in Beaumont. Moved out to Beaumont, got the telecoms job, did that for about a year and a half while I was working on my credential. Worked at the casino while I was doing my student teaching, and I said I got to get back into this coaching. I ended up getting a coaching job at Indio. They gave me a teaching position with it, and that led to eventually, I wanted to be closer to home here in Beaumont, and when a teaching position opened in Beaumont, I was fortunate enough to get it. And then the coaching job opened up, and I said, this is something I want to do. I want to put my roots down here in Beaumont. I want to continue to be a part of the game that made me who I am, the game I love, and be around family and, instill the life lessons that I learned through baseball into this community through baseball. And that's how I got where I am now. I'm very fortunate. I know I'm considered young for a head coach. I still got umpires joking about whether I'm going to strap on a jersey and put a helmet on, swing the bat. And I was like, no, but you might see me on the mound. And it's been a blast. It's been a good ride to get where I'm at now. Mm-hmm. And I've had it.
Coach, I love that journey, man. You're a King guy. I think you also pitched at RCC, right? Before you went to the 4-year level. Yeah. And you assistant coached at Riverside Poly. So, I cover a lot of Riverside baseball teams as well. I don't know if you were with Steve Madrill and Billy Ermer and some of those guys, but who are some of your coaching influences?
So while I was playing, I was playing for Ken Scott. Billy Ermer was the assistant coach. Alvin Davis was our assistant coach.
Yeah.
And then when I got that coaching job at King, it was still Ken Scott with Billy Ermer. And then Madrill came in, and that's when we left, and Ermer got the job at Poly. I went with Ermer to Poly. But I would say Scott, Davis, Ermer, those guys have had a much impact on not just my baseball career, but my life. They were just solid human beings, so with so much compassion and love for the game. And I will forever be grateful for the opportunity to play and coach with them. Rogers, Rogers is that's a tough pill to swallow if you don't know what you're getting into when you go to RCC. And I was all for it. He's big on the mental game. He likes to challenge you mentally, but I'm all for it. And so I absolutely loved playing for Dennis Rogers at RCC. Another guy, Mike Trapasso at the University of Hawaii at the time. He was the head coach. I was just some walk-on, and he showed me all the love in the world. And, even when I decided to transfer from Hawaii, he was very supportive and understanding. And I still call him or text him, sometimes email on his birthday every year. I only remember because it's the same day as mine. I've been fortunate to play for a lot of great coaches. I even go back to my travel ball days. I played for the Riverside Rebels. Jeff Murray he was the combination of fierce and fun. And I got a lot of how I play from him. And then you get to, when I got to Vanguard, it was a completely different story with Rob Pegg over at Vanguard. I mean, the guy was just so cool, calm, collected, Christ-centered, and brought it to baseball. And I didn't understand how that worked at the time until midway through the season. I'm wondering why this guy doesn't get on us more. And, it's just in his nature being, a follower of Christ that, use compassion, use love, use kindness. And I bring that into what I do now, especially him. It's just I understand there's times to bear down on guys and get on them, but I try to lead with compassion and kindness and understanding. I was in all these players' shoes before, and I think back to what did I react to best as far as coaching, and the guys who would sit there and really show you that they cared and understand for your development, not just as a player, but as a human being. It changed my whole viewpoint on the game, especially from a coaching standpoint. I had some really cool coaches in independent ball. Tony Phillips was a little bit of an assistant coach when he came out with us, and he had a different, view of the game than we did, being, the era that he came from. But it's just having all those different kinds of flavors added in. I pull from a little bit of everybody.
Sure.
I'll pull from Phillips, I'll pull from Rogers, Pegg, everybody. And even when I'm struggling with something, I'll reach out to some of those guys and, hey, what do you do with this? In this situation? And they're always great. I've got to coach against Coach Scott. I've got to coach against well, I haven't got to coach against Ermert yet. I want to. We're going to set up something next year. But even another prospect or another product of King High School, Matt James over at Orange Vista. Yeah. Got to coach against him a couple times, and it's great seeing the guys you grew up with, even the guys you grew up under. With Coach Scott and his son Terrence over at Woodcrest Christian now, like coaching against them. It was weird seeing them in black and purple, but it was definitely a blast. There isn't a single coach that I don't have influence from or pull from.
That's awesome, Coach. Like you said, so many great people, so many great men in your life to kind of shape you, who, the manager, the coach that you are now. I do want to talk about the Citrus Belt League, because when you look at the IE, man, the CBL is right up there in terms of just tough leagues. Great coaches, great programs, always like D1 caliber baseball players coming out of the CBL. When I think Beaumont, I think obviously Jeff Steinberg and the football program and what they're doing there. Girls basketball's had a ton of success. How do you bring success to Beaumont on the baseball diamond and see if the Cougars can, be in the hunt for a CBL championship? Because I'll be honest, I feel like this year might be the most wide open season I've seen in the CBL, at least. I think from top to bottom, everyone feels like they probably have a chance to win a league title or at least, finish in the top 3 for a playoff spot.
Right. It is a very, very competitive league. I knew that going into it, with Ukaipa, Rev, and Citrus Valley. Those are some teams that I played against in high school, and they were really good back then. And now it's with Beaumont. The key is making sure that they continue to play as a team. That's what it is. And having kind of a sense of pride for where you're from. Yeah. And it starts even before they get to high school, and getting these kids involved and kind of letting them know, like, hey man, like there's a lot of talent here, and you guys all stick together. You all come up together. You'd be surprised how good you guys could be come time to play high school ball, whether it be freshman, JV, or varsity level. There's a certain aspect of team camaraderie when you've played with these guys for years and years and years, as opposed to going somewhere else and not really knowing everybody like that. It's the camaraderie of a team can change the culture of the team. And when you got guys who are homegrown, who are, all about where they're from and have played together for so long, it can be a dangerous team in a good sense. Yeah. It can be dangerous. You got these guys who know each other. They know how they play, and they all know how each other ticks, and it changes the culture. And that's the biggest thing coming into this year is kind of giving them that thought process of, like, it's more than just about you and this team. It's about this town. Yeah. And having that sense of pride in where you come from. I know Riverside, where I came from, it's a lot bigger city, and there's so many high schools there. Beaumont, we're one high school town. Yeah. And my goal, and what I hope to do for the future, is be able to convince the talent to stay in Beaumont, and convince those kids, it's worth sticking around and playing with each other, and getting to high school and playing and competing for 4 years with each other through high school. And because it can lead to something great. You get new people coming in so often, and in and out. Everybody's transferring these days, and it's tough to feel like you fit in especially if you're not at home. And my goal is to keep these kids home and wanting to play with their boys that they grew up with and that they played with, and continue that kind of legacy here in Beaumont. And it's brand new for me, because, I came from a big city where you could go down the street to Poly, you could go down the road over to Arlington, Ramona, all these schools, and still compete, because it's just a plethora of talent out of that area. Where in Beaumont, there's still a plethora of talent. It's just a matter of keeping them here and letting them, know what they're really playing for. Yeah, not just them. And it's not just us. It's the community. It's our town and representing. That's something that Steinberg's done so well with the football program. That's a guy I've talked to here and there, little coaching tips. Football and baseball are completely different games, but coaching is coaching.
Yeah.
How you attack training them mentally is all the same throughout sports across the board. And, he's a great guy to reach out to and communicate with on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll say there's some really great coaches at Beaumont right now, from football to basketball. Softball's had a ton of success, so it's a great place to be.
I have a relationship with the softball coach too, not just because baseball, softball, but my wife played for Frankie
Fooey. Yeah,
my wife played for him she was class of 2011 out of Beaumont, and he's still there. And I've since we've been together, I've ran into Frankie so many times. He's such a great guy, and he's doing a great job over there.
Yeah, he really, really is. Well, Coach, listen, I got to run here, but I really do appreciate the time, man. It was great to, catch up with you and get to know you a little bit better. And best of luck the rest of the way here in the Citrus Belt League. I know there's some big games still to come up and a lot to play for.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm an open book. Guys, if people want to know about me, want to know about Beaumont, want to know about the baseball team, I'm the guy. I absolutely love sharing their story, sharing my story, because you never know who it's going to reach and who it's going to touch, and maybe influence in a positive way. Then that's what this is all about, leaving that positive impact.
Yeah, 100%, Coach, 100%. That's Travis Tomsen. He's the head baseball coach at Beaumont High School. And, Coach, congrats on the success so far this year. First year head coach here with the Cougars, and continued success down the road, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Inland Sports.